This video series contains scientific and medical concepts aimed at informing healthcare professionals. Please note that the videos may contain visually stimulating images and movement.
So Clayton, when you see a patient coming into your clinic that you suspect is having PEM, what are the symptoms or what are the cues that kind of hit your red flags?
Usually if I see someone walk into the clinic and they are short of breath, or they have a caregiver with them, or they seem exhausted just from walking into the clinic, it's a clue that maybe I should screen for post-exertional malaise with this patient. And often when they come in, a lot of these people, you can't even recognize that they have post-exertional malaise until you really listen and ask the right questions. What about you?
I often will hear people saying that they just can't do what they were wanting to do. They feel awful after they have done a little bit of exertion. Post-exertional malaise is the exacerbation, the worsening of all symptoms after a trigger. And the triggers are things like, sensory or social, emotional, physical, cognitive. So somebody doing light computer work and being in a busy restaurant or Starbucks and really not being able to focus, all of their symptoms really worsen by the time they get out of that location, and they just need to go home and rest. They're not able to do what they were supposed to be doing. A person that would be at their desk trying to do their job that they've done for the last 10 years and really cannot make it through the day now is coming home and crashing and needing to have time to rest and recover. These patients will say, I just cannot do what I was wanting to do. And I start thinking about their post-exertional malaise or their worsening of symptoms.
Yeah, usually they kind of call it a crash, or they call it like, I just feel exhausted and I used to be able to do this. And then often they'll say things like, all I did was ... and whatever activity. And now it put them in bed for 2 or 3 days. And that's always surprising for patients, is to kind of go, what? I used to be able to do this. Why can't I do it anymore? Another thing that's kind of frustrating is that the triggers can be anything. So because of that, it could be standing in line for too long. It can be going to a concert, or you have to add up all the environmental stressors, the orthostatic stressors, cognitive stressors can do it. So that can be really challenging for patients to recognize and to realize that they don't have as much energy as they used to, and they have to be cautious with what they have.
PEM is not just about energy. It's also about they feel fatigued, but it's not a disease that describes just being tired or fatigued, even though it's in the name. Unfortunately, it is a worsening of symptoms. So their lymph nodes are sore, they have a rash, they're flushed, their skin looks different, they have pains in different joints, they feel nauseous, they have headaches, their feet are pooling, circulation is not happening like it should. So there are a lot of different symptoms that are attributed and look under the PEM umbrella, but it's not necessarily a straight symptom checklist.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting, is that it's so varied among patients. Different patients have different presentations. So it can be really hard as a therapy provider to really recognize what that patient may complain of certain symptoms, and then a different patient who has post-exertional malaise can complain of completely different symptoms. But the main theme is that they have post-exertional malaise, and it's, like you said, it's much more than fatigue. It's a full system crash, or people describe it as like walking through concrete, or being so fatigued that they can't move. Often they're treated as if it's made up, it's in their head, it's a psychological thing, but it's really not. It's more debilitating than people realize. And those who don't experience post-exertional malaise cannot understand how debilitating it is. Most therapy providers are not educated on these topics. So that's what's hard, is there's most therapy programs are not teaching about post-exertional malaise or really providing that understanding. It's not until you work with patients that you really start to see these patterns. And that's where therapy providers can cause a lot of harm, because we don't recognize it. We think exercise is going to fix everything, when in reality, a lot of these patients we are causing harm to by not recognizing, identifying PEM, and then helping them cope with it. So that's one of the biggest issues for therapists.
Teaching a person how to handle their crash and how to develop strategies for the recovery is the healing process for people with PEM. The bread and butter of occupational therapy and physical therapy is often activity or exercise. And I think that as a therapist, that's what we really have to deprogram our own mind and come up with a different strategy, a different thinking. Graded exercise is a tool or a strategy that we use intuitively as therapists. We want to add more to allow the patient to strengthen or increase their endurance. But for people with PEM, we actually need to teach them how to rest and recover so that they can build up their battery or their strategies for pacing and recovery so that their body starts to heal. And that's the process that I hope that we're able to teach some of the therapists.
This video was made possible by the OMF-funded Medical Education Resource Center at BHC, our generous donors, and viewers like you. Please consider making a tax-deductible donation to help keep educational resources like this one publicly available.